UNT's NCAA tournament run ends in the round of 36. Mean Green fell to Villanova 84-61 in a pretty tough loss. Javian Hamlet still showed up and showed out, though, scoring 25 points, 6 rebounds, but Villanova could not miss from three. They were 54.4 field goal percentage tonight. Welcome into Mean Green Game Day post-game show. I'm your host, Sarah Baskin, alongside Jack Brown, Justin Blue, and Connor Hibbett. Fellas, how are we feeling?
I'm proud to be a part of this university. I'm proud of what these guys did. They never quit. They just played a terrific team in the Villanova Wildcats. So I'm proud of where these guys, how hard these guys played. Proud of where their season went. They could have given in a long time ago, but they kept on fighting. And I'm proud of the senior class. And part of where this culture has taken us, and proud of where this program is going.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I don't think there's any shame in losing this game whatsoever. You know, you ran into a very hot Villanova team and a Villanova team that's very, very well coached. They absolutely caught fire from downtown, and that was really just the story of this whole game, was just the fact that they could not miss shots, especially in the first half. You know, they got out to a 20-point lead at the intermission. It really seemed like the game was over at that point. Villanova just couldn't miss throughout this whole game, and it just stinks that they had to figure things out just in time to play North Texas.
Yeah, I'm proud to say I go to UNT. I wrote off this team super early in the season. Didn't expect this at all. So I'm just happy we're in the tournament.
Me too, and I agree with all of you that there's no shame in losing to a tournament powerhouse like Villanova. We still made history. This is our first NCAA tournament win in school history. These guys on this team and Coach McCaslin, they can always hang their hat on that. No one can ever take that accomplishment away, and we'll always remember it. And again, I agree with Connor. You know, I feel like we're lucky to be students at this school at this time. But let's talk about what happened against Villanova tonight. It is painful, but as we said, Villanova just seemed like they could not miss from three. Jack, what did you see in the defense?
Like I said during the halftime show, I just didn't, good defense but better offense, kind of like in the NBA. You can get a hand in the face, but they just were unconscious from three. I think they put up a stat during the game that said 8 players made at least 1 3. So it was just atrocious. They just destroyed us with the 3-ball.
Villanova just took advantage of our little mistakes. If we didn't rotate out to a 3-point shooter, that guy was wide open and he made the shot. It's really easy to pinpoint little mistakes in a blowout loss, maybe reasons to why it went wrong, and that's very easy to do. And that's one of the things that went wrong, was just there was way too many open looks for Villanova from downtown, and you have to give them credit because they were making them.
Yeah, you said they passed well. They passed extremely well. We know that UNT's been a great defensive team all season. When you play offense at that level that Villanova did tonight against this UNT defense, that means that it wasn't so much about the UNT lack of effort on the defensive side. That means Villanova was playing extremely highly efficient on the offensive side. And they were doing that consistently all game. They had that one stretch at the last 10 minutes of the first half where they went on a 34-6 run. That's what ultimately put the game out of reach. But this UNT defense still did, I think, a good job of doing the things that they needed to do. They did put their hand up in their face consistently. They moved their feet. They didn't play Ole defense. But this Villanova team was just highly efficient on both sides of the floor, but especially offensively.
And the way that Villanova was moving the ball is especially what killed us. It seemed like there was 1 second in between passes in a lot of those series. They were making the pass, they were making another pass, and they were making a shot, and that's just how it went. And our defense couldn't move fast enough to keep up with the rotation of the ball. So again, credit Villanova because they had a great offensive game plan, move the ball around and create the open looks, and it worked against this defense.
And it seemed like they did start to feel the pressure, because definitely in the second half, I felt like there were more fouls. They were just letting themselves get into that pressure. But Jack, talk to me about what you didn't see from the offense.
Well, UNT offensively just looked really, they just didn't look like themselves. The way they've been playing throughout the tournament and the last game against Purdue is just stagnant. People were scared to shoot the ball. It just wasn't what it was like. And credit to Villanova's defense. And I bagged on Villanova's interior defense and rim protection, but they played stellar tonight. And they out-rebounded us as well.
I agree, and I do. I just think it's tough, and I think that they just let themselves get knocked off of their identity. And you're right. It seemed like there were moments when they could be taking shots and they weren't, and it seemed like it was a confidence issue. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it was, and I don't think a lot of the times there wasn't enough movement going around Javian Hamlet. It really seems like the Wildcats' defensive game plan was we're going to make other people besides Javian Hamlet beat us, and none of the other supporting cast could consistently make shots in this game.
Well, let's put this game to bed and let's talk about Javian Hamlet. As far as we know, that was his last game in the mean green uniform. Now, let's reiterate that they do have an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19. So if they wanted to, all of the seniors on this team could conceivably play next year, but we suspect that Javian Hamlet will not be. Connor, talk to me about Javian Hamlet's impact on this team and this program.
He is going to be the face of what we remember of this program for the foreseeable future. He is the face that we're going to put on our walls. When we're 30 years old, we look back at what we were in college, we're all going to say, remember that Javian Hamlet guy, how good he was? He's the guy that we're going to look back and say, remember that guy you guys remember that player for Lehigh against Duke? That was so good, and he's now in the NBA. That's what Hamlet's going to be for UNT, and the story that he's brought to this program. Now we all remember Lehigh. Well, people are going to remember us in that same facet with the great player that Hamlet is and the upset that we pulled off against Purdue. So I really feel like when you have a great player that can have an impact and bring in energy like he does, that can impact not just a program for that season, but for the foreseeable future. And he's had so many accomplishments. Like this year, he was male athlete of the year in Conference USA. That's all sports. We obviously know how talented of a player he is. He wasn't even rated as a star recruit. So think about how much he's improved and the impact that he's had, again, on this program. I'm proud to be a part of this university.
You're right, 2020 CUSA Male Athlete of the Year. Believe that was Charles Bassey this year, but again, he showed that he was able to go up against those guys in that Western Kentucky championship game. You know, putting the Purdue game aside, we're always going to have that CUSA championship, first championship in the conference. Not first conference championship, but in CUSA. But Jack, talk to me about Javion's impact.
Yeah, Javian should have a statue outside the stadium, outside the Super Pit, and what he's done. He's really the identity of the team. He's the leader. Everybody loves him. The system runs through him. McCaslin gave him the keys, and this is what he took UNT to do. Now, I would hold my horses on NBA talk, but he's great for us and good for the system.
And I think Javian Hamlet really put UNT back on the map with basketball. The combination of McCaslin and Javian Hamlet, it kind of reminds me of a combination in football of a quarterback and a coach. You find that tandem that works, and it just makes everything else go. And it seems like we found that with the combination of Javian Hamlet and Grant McCaslin.
Now, I do want to highlight our other senior starters. Let's talk about Zach Simmons. He did have a tough game tonight, but Zach Simmons, over 1,000 career points at UNT. That kind of impact can't be understated, Justin.
Yeah, it can and all. And he was a force in the paint all these years for UNT. He was probably one of our best offensive big men that we've ever had in UNT program history, and another guy that went a long way to putting UNT back on the map. He was a force in the paint all these years for North Texas.
What do you think, Connor?
He didn't have the best of games tonight, but let's not take that away from him and use that as a representative of what he did all the years, like Justin said. He's been a terrific player during his whole career at UNT. And because of him, we're now going to have guys like that in our system for years to come. And what Zach Simmons brought, also from a mentality standpoint, was consistency. And I think when you have a guy like a Hamlet and then a guy like a Zachary Simmons from up top and down low who can keep a mentality consistent during the whole entire game and season, it helps the energy and for the team, and that's what Simmons brought. And I love consistency. That's one of the things that I've always talked about, persistence and consistency, and that's what Simmons brings.
What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can't say Hamlet's name without Simmons. Both these guys are just big pieces and big reasons why UNT is in March and what they are right now.
A couple other senior starters. Let's talk about James Reese. James Reese might be my personal favorite just to actually watch on the court. Not only his three-point shooting, but he's just fun to watch play, and he's fun to look at, you guys. But Connor, what do you think?
Again, I'm just proud of this team, and there's no shame in losing to a great team like this. But it's just I would hold up the UNT symbol for the rest of my life, and it's just such a surreal moment to even be talking on game day. Like, hey, we just got past the first round. We lost to Villanova. Like, who would have thought preseason that we were going to be sitting here or standing here and talking about how successful our team was, and that, hey, we lost in the round of 32. You mean the round of 32 of the NIT? No, March Madness. And so if anyone wants to shame us for any reason, or if anyone is disappointed after this loss, there's nothing to be disappointed of.
And, one last senior starter. Let's talk about Thomas Bell. And, Jack, I want you to talk about Thomas Bell because you've had your eye on him all season. Even when he was maybe not a standout player, on paper and online, you saw him. So what did you see in Thomas Bell?
Yeah, Bell's just one of those guys that knows his role, and I like him out of anybody else on UNT's team to go make an NBA run, see if he can get in the NBA, because he knows his role. He's a great role player. He's an offensive weapon. He's a defensive weapon. He's kind of that tweener. He can play big man and guard, and he can get to the paint. So I really like Bell. It's gonna hurt bad next year without Bell down low.
Now, I do want to spend a little bit of time and talk about some guys that are up and coming. Let's talk about Marjorez McBride. I think we could spend an entire 30 minutes talking about Marjorez McBride and his impact, especially here in March. Justin, talk to me about what he's going to mean to this team next season.
Well, he's going to be the streaky shooter now. Losing James Reese, Marjorez McBride's really going to step into his role now. He's going to have to be the guy that's providing the three-point shooting on a consistent basis going forward next season. And he showed us down the stretch of this season that he's very capable of doing that. Now, like I said in an earlier show, he is one of those types of players that when he's cold, he can't buy a shot. But when he gets hot, he's making all of them, basically. So, you just want to see more consistency out of him going into next season.
Like I said in our pregame show, one of the most fun things about this entire tournament run was just watching his three-point percentage statistics just like slowly inch their way up, because every single game he was getting better and better. What do you guys think?
I ordered Javian Hamlet and a little bit of McBride on the side. I absolutely loved both of their performances throughout the tournament.
Justin, who else do you see as being a big player for this team moving forward?
Well, how about Abu Usman? Now, I don't think there's going to be a lot of drop-off in the post-production between Simmons and Usman next season. Usman's a different body type. He's more of the bigger body size, whereas Zach Simmons more scrawny-like. So I just think, in Conference USA especially, Usman's body size is going to be able to help him guard guys like Kenneth Lofton that we're going to have to see, twice a year with La Tech, and Charles Bassey, potentially some of these bigger bodies. I like Usmani to potentially guard them on defense more better than Simmons has this season.
And you mentioned Kenneth Lofton Jr. from La Tech, obviously a star for that team, really a breakout star within the conference. Connor was all over that, during our pregame shows. But Jack, talk to me about our breakout freshman.
Yeah, Abu, I think they're gonna really groom. They've been really grooming him. McCaslin's really kept him under wrap, and he's got some minutes. Didn't play a lot in March Madness, but Zach Simmons has been teaching him how to play some basketball at UNT, and Abu's gonna fit right in and step in. And they've conditioned his body really well. McCaslin brags all the time about how Abu is really bought in, and so McCaslin and Abu are going to be a great duo for the future.
And you could see the progression of Abu this season. It was really impressive on the offensive side. At the beginning of the season, he couldn't buy a shot, but as the season progressed, he became more of that force in the interior, and I think that gives us a lot of confidence going into next year about what he's going to be able to do.
And Jack, we did have one star freshman that was unfortunately injured during the tournament, but talk to me about Reuben Jones.
Yeah, Reuben Jones is definitely going to take over the role of handling the ball, in my opinion. They list him as 6'7". Don't think he's 6'7", but him not being able to play in the tournament, I think, kind of hurt UNT. He's a great guy to come off the bench and get you a couple buckets. He's going to have a bigger role next year, and him and Abu they're the future, so we'll see where they take us.
I can't wait to watch next season. And, right before we go, sum up this season for me in one word. Connor?
I would say McCaslin basketball. And what I mean by that is there was never a moment that you thought UNT was falling off the chart or falling off the map, that they were giving in to times or they let COVID bother them. McCaslin basketball is consistent. And even though we had a couple of games where it didn't perform at the highest of levels, that's to be expected in a season, especially like this, when you play back-to-back conference games against the same opponent. And when you play against like a UAB, Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, it's going to add up. But what we showed is consistency, in that we never gave in. Heart is another word I would use, and that's part of the McCaslin basketball chain, if you will. It's part of the facet of this program of what he wants to build on. And I know we're losing a lot of guys most likely after this season, but we're still going to have the same energy and we're still going to have the same foundation to our program. We're going to have lots of new faces that we're going to have to develop, but there's no doubt in my mind that UNT could be back in the NCAA tournament in a couple of years.
Justin, quick summary of the season.
I would just say redemption. I really think they used last season and how that ended, getting robbed of going to March Madness. I really think they used that as fuel this season. And you could tell in a lot of those games that, sometimes they just needed that mental state, to be in that game. And sometimes I think that's what it was. And not even the 3 seed in the conference tournament could stop them from getting that redemption from last year. So I just think with everything that went down last year, it made this year feel so much more special. Winning the conference tournament, winning a March Madness game. It felt like all that was going to happen last season. So it just pushed it back. It just pushed it back a season, when we weren't able to go to March Madness. But so it just made it feel all the better this year, and we finally got it done.
Jack?
I got a 3-worder, The Last Dance. I think it fits perfect. It just shows that these seniors, the 6 seniors on the squad, they really bought in, and they really just wanted to prove this year that they were the people that they wanted to be. They wanted to finish their career at UNT like this, and so like the Bulls did. So they finished the way they wanted to.
My final word for this season, it's got to be historic. We want to send a big congratulations to Coach McCaslin, the entire Mean Green basketball team, and the entire athletics program for an outstanding basketball season. I want to thank you for joining us for this historic Mean Green basketball season here on Mean Green Game Day. I know I speak for myself, Jack, Justin, Connor, Michelle, and Zach when I say that we've had a fantastic year covering Mean Green basketball for you. And win, lose, or draw, we're always proud to be Mean Green. Good night.